Welcome back to another episode of the Highlight Reel. Here we have another special guest. We've had him on the show before, but definitely wanted to bring him back. So, Uncle David, introduce yourself one more time.
Yes, sir. David Brand, ordained elder, licensed therapist in Ohio, bring a lot of healing to young people, to couples, to adolescents, those working through life's challenges. And it is our joy and privilege to teach people skills and provide them tools.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shameless plug like that. So this episode, like I was telling you, I kind of wanted to basically break down some of the feelings and thoughts I had in my last episode, just because I've been feeling like recently it's been a lot going on with me mentally. And I'm not saying that this has to be a therapy session or anything like that, but I figured that you would be one of the best equipped to help me break down some of my thoughts and feelings. And then I also, from one of the posts I put on social media, you said something about accountability.
Yes, sir.
And I was thinking, I didn't know if you were saying I'm not being accountable or if there's just not as much accountability in the generations coming up, or both. So I wanted to maybe use this as an opportunity to kind of break some of those things down.
Okay.
So yeah. All right. So I wanted to maybe break down some of the things that have been going on with me recently, and then we can kind of get into it from there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm honestly in a kind of lonely place. I feel like I've been in a lonely place recently. It's a lot of things going on with people around me, and I know it's a lot of people that surround me and love me, but there are times where I still feel alone by myself. Like I'm maybe not as supported, or maybe I'm more supported than I think, but it doesn't feel like it. So maybe it's just in my head. So what are some of your thoughts to that right there?
That was interesting. How old are you, Rayo?
24.
24, very good age. I can remember 24. I can remember I was married at 24, and I was married at 24 because as a young man, I saw my wife. I saw the wife in the young girl I loved, right?
Yeah.
And I knew what her potential was, so I locked that down quick.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Right. Number one, you are never alone. God is always with you, right? So
Correct.
There's that. You got to tap into that, lean into that. I would also say, as a young man at 24, it's good that you are having this moment to recognize the need that God has put in you, that you want companionship.
Okay.
And in terms of support, I would challenge you to say, what type of support are you looking for? If you're saying you have it, and you're saying yet and still you don't have the level that you want, like what are you expecting at this stage of your life?
So, oh man. All right. So when I was saying that, I'm saying I know that people support me, right? I know that I'm loved. I know all of those things.
Right.
But there are still times where it's confusing on how I know that, but I don't feel that, right? So it's not like maybe I am having a certain level of expectation from other people, but then maybe that's my fault, right? But also I would think that there is a fair level of expectation from family, from friends. So maybe in those times where you feel like those expectations aren't met, is it then confusing to feel the way I do? And am I right to feel that, or am I wrong to feel that? So that's why I've been going back and forth with it, because again, when we're talking about accountability, I'm trying to be accountable for what part I play in this. But at some point, don't I need to maybe take myself out of it and analyze maybe people around me, or should it just continuously be just me? Because someone else said that too. Someone else has commented and said, honestly, they look at self-reflection first. They look inward first. And I feel like I do plenty of that. That's probably why I'm always in my head. But at some point, the actions of others around me is going to affect how I think. That's natural. Is that not natural?
True. Getting into that, we have to be honest and say that, you know, social media has changed a lot of people's communication patterns, and you can jump on any social media site and people will tell you like the funny memes, like I would rather be at home in my bed doing nothing. And you got to remember how there's a lot of anxiety in the world, a lot of depression. People won't come out and say that all the time, but that's where a lot of the ghosting comes from. That's where a lot of the broken conversations come from, because communicating is vulnerability. And a lot of people don't have skill set to be vulnerable, so they'll just ghost, they'll just cancel, they'll just not show up. And then for you, like as you continue to grow through life, you'll be okay with being your own man and rolling solo. And my advice to you is, while you have this time, you need to be building your kingdom, right? You need to be building your kingdom, unless you want to be a man in the streets.
No.
Okay, so if you don't want to be a man in the streets, build your kingdom. So when God brings this special lady across your path, you can present her with the kingdom and say, hey, this is what I got going for me. And that's how you get a guaranteed yes, because I've been setting up, I've been waiting for this moment, I've been preparing for this moment, preparing for you.
Yeah.
So when you step to her and all of the things that make you Rayo,
right,
you lock that in like your uncle did.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, I don't want you to think that this is solely about me attaining a romantic relationship. This is in like my friendships, my family relationships, just different things like that, where some of these feelings have been coming about, because I know not everything revolves around me or anything like that, but when certain things happen in succession and it happens consistently, again, that's when I start to say, okay, the one thing that is the same in all of this is me. So that's why I look inward. But at some point, am I going to be blaming myself for everything? That's not healthy.
Hopefully not.
Because I don't think that's the answer.
You find the space to say, this didn't work out, let me just move forward. And you don't begin to blame yourself and say, people don't want to hang out with me because you're an awesome guy. Also, you got to remember too, you a high energy guy. Okay. We've talked a lot about, you are a classic extrovert. You gain energy from the room. You bring that to the room. And there's people who you probably hang with who are introvert. And that simply means their strength, their jam is a quiet space alone. And there can also be a situation where sometimes your energy dominates and sometimes drains the introvert. Okay. And you got to learn that and not take that personal. And there's times where you'll go out and you'll have a good time and everybody will have a good time. And there's times when people are like, nah, I can't deal with that. And you got to be okay with that, nephew. You got to be okay with that, because these personality traits are real. They're real and you have to respect them.
Okay.
You know, and it's like your big energy will be, received. And I know the podcast is doing well. So it's like, going back to your statement about the support, like what more do you need? I guess you are like, we're looking for like the physical support of friends and the time together, right?
Yeah.
So like I said, going back to that, man, you get it when you can, and when you don't get it, you either be solo or you just kind of pull back and find something to continue to pour your passion into, so you're not feeling down. Because you won't be out here every night,
right? But so I feel like I already understand some of that. It's just because even though I'm very much an extrovert, I know how to tone it back. I have my times where I'm extremely chill because I'm an extrovert and I've been around people that are maybe more extroverted than I am, right?
Okay.
So I know I've learned how to maybe pull back or to maybe bring out more energy. I can read the room in that manner.
Good.
There are just other times where I'm wondering what is the issue? Am I the issue? Is it them? What is it? But I also saw something today that I think brought up a very interesting point, and I feel like it was really on time for me. Is am I maybe self-sabotaging to a degree, or could it be seen as that by setting people up to be in positions maybe they shouldn't be in the first place? Because then I'm expecting more from them, and then when they cannot reach that, then I look at them in the wrong when maybe they shouldn't have been there in the first place. That was something I literally just saw on my way here. Like before I came here, I saw that. I said, wow, that makes sense to me. Because then it would be self-sabotage basically on my part for expecting too much of someone to maybe do this thing. Then they don't. Now I'm mad at them when maybe that was never in their capacity in the first place, because as you said, maybe they're an introvert or maybe they are an extrovert, not as much as I am, but I could be setting myself up for failure like that with those expectations that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you think that's self-sabotage, or maybe it's more to it? It's a little more nuanced?
In terms of the self-sabotage, I like how you broke that down in a sense of you putting people in places where they can't really manage. And I think that's great growth on your part. Now, the question is, can you learn and grow from that, or will you continue to operate, the same way and put in people who don't deserve that space in those spaces? Because like you said, it doesn't make sense for you to get mad at them if you've already identified that they're not ready. Or another truth is life is happening for everybody, right? And just like you're a young man working your way through career, car, relationships, people have things going on. And rather than people breaking down the list of life that's happening, they'll just say, I'm just not going to be there.
Right.
And now the expectation is, hey, let me know. But you would be surprised to hear how many people are, probably at this age crying themselves to sleep at night because life is happening in very swift transitions. And it's like, I don't even have time to think about what happened, or I don't have the energy to go and do and hang. And it's like, I can't tell Ryo that'll break his heart. And it is breaking your heart, but keep that in mind too, because it's real out here, man. The jobs, the home, like the home situation, but like the housing situation. That's what I want to say, the housing situation. And young people just like yourself who may not achieve the level of success you have, and having to depend on other people to do this and that for them. And that's the reality. Some of them are still leaning on others to do. And it's like, if I can't get a ride, or if I can't get the car, or if I don't even have gas, I'm not going to be able to be there. And how would I feel even saying that out of my mouth? So I'm just going
man. And the thing is, I'm understanding. So whenever I'm not afforded that communication, I'm confused by that, because I'm thinking you could have told me that instead of me having maybe expectations up.
Well, this is me speaking for all of your friends and telling you that's probably what's happening, Ryo.
Okay.
It's tough out here for some people. And if I don't have gas, it takes a very vulnerable spot to be like, say, I don't have gas tonight, or so-and-so happened in my family, or I woke up in a very bad mood. Like going back to what you said, like those feelings that you're experiencing, I wonder, like, can you actually even name them? So I know a big thing this generation says is, I feel some type of way. That could mean anything.
So can I name my feelings?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Confused. Aggravated.
Very good.
I've been thinking maybe I'm impatient. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
That's something that's been coming up in my mind a lot. Like, am I impatient for maybe this happening this one time or whatever? But again, it's like, if it's across the board different times, but even if something happens with different people, you start thinking, okay, man, what's going on? So it starts to wear on me. confused, aggravated, impatient, a little agitated, distant. Introspective about all of this. I feel vulnerable as well because I'm trying to still be vulnerable and understanding of other people's situations, but also understanding of how I feel and not just neglect how I feel. So, and like all of these things have been making me think about just maybe where I stand and with people, where I'm standing in life, all these different, I don't want to say I'm having a quarter life crisis. It's nothing like that, I don't think. But
you just made that up. Just made that.
Nah, you never heard of a quarter life. You got midlife crisis, and you got quarter life crisis.
He's never heard no quarter life crisis. That's something you young folks made.
I've heard of that before. But it's the reason why I want to get to the root of what's going on and how I'm feeling is because I don't want to start to spiral down a different path, because you were saying, can I still go forward and grow? Like, will I still operate in this same manner, or will I be able to go forward and grow? Because now that I'm understanding that this happens, it makes me want to distance myself, honestly, and just not really expect anything. And I think that can, to a degree, be healthy, but to another degree, that could be very unhealthy, because then I'm not depending on people or feel like I can't rely on people. And that's kind of where I've been, because I always feel like when it comes to me, I feel like I'm pretty reliable, right?
Okay, so look. There's a fine line between boundaries and bitterness, and I agree. I don't want you to slip into bitterness. I don't want anybody watching to slip into bitterness. You must understand the world has changed so much. We have to respect where people are. And I love what you said, because as I listened to you, I was reminded that you were an only child. So you probably are impatient, and you probably don't understand the dynamics of larger families, having to wait, because as an only child, everything was probably pretty fast for you. I know mom took good care of you. I know dad took good care of you. So it was like, today, yes, right? But as you grow into manhood, you're finding out that it's not always today and yes. Sometimes it's no, sometimes it's maybe, sometimes it's let me just slow down, get a proper perspective. And I think with that, that'll keep you away from that bitterness, because I don't think you're the type of guy that's going to function well going into a shell. So yes, you have to learn to be patient with people. And I know that's going to challenge you, because I think you hit the nail on the head with that, right? People will be available to you. People will show up for you. But you got to slow down just a little bit sometimes and give them the space to figure some things out so they can show up for you. And when they don't show up for you, you got to keep your heart open, because if you take all of these opportunities that you didn't connect and hook up and allow yourself to be mad at them for possibly things they can't control, that's going to ruin the relationship. And they're going to come back to you when they're steady and ready and say, what happened? And you say, well, you ain't show up on Tuesday night to get wings. And it's like,
that's real though, man.
Yeah, for real. Like, mom's car broke down, or I was on my way and I left my wallet on top of my car and it flew off. I mean, things happen.
That literally just happened to someone I was talking to. That was happening to someone I talked to.
I know it. Like, I can tell you how sometimes I move too fast and you misplace things, you lose your keys. Now you late. It gets later and later, and you start looking for your keys. You can't find them. If you know how to calm down and stop, take a minute, you would spend 3 hours looking for keys, and they'd be right there in front of you. But because that anxiety closes off your mind to be rational and to have the proper ability to process, you just get lost.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're definitely making some valid points. Because I do think so we've named a lot of different situations that could be happening with people as to why something doesn't happen, right?
Right.
And every time I hear that, I'm like, dang, that's what I get. But I also will think maybe you could have said that. It's not always that simple. I know that. But you could have said that, and I would say, okay, we can figure this out another time. There's just been a lot of times where someone will say, we'll do this, and then no word at all the day of. To me, that's look, I don't want to say I'm just the greatest communicator, but I feel like I know how to communicate pretty well. I don't do that. Like, if I was to tell you, we're going to do this day, and then that day I don't say anything at all, that doesn't happen for me. That doesn't happen for me. So it's been making me think, or from what I'm saying, do you think I've been expecting me from people? Like, I'm expecting actions that I would demonstrate from other people.
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
Because like you said, you expect everybody to communicate on the level that you communicate, but you got to remember, if you've never been taught, if you've never been shown how to show up like that, that's not something you're used to, and you don't know how to do it. And honestly, part of it does scare people, because that's like, can I even commit to a friendly relationship, let alone a romantic? Right? Because it takes time and energy to be somebody's friend, right? You got to have your schedule. You got to have the vehicle, the money, the energy. And if I got 2 out of 3, maybe I go. If I have 1 out of 3, I definitely won't go. And it's like, all of these variables, keep in mind always, not to mention, right, you got to remember, there's times God is keeping you away from trouble. And God is allowing you to stay in a place of safety, in a place of protection, for real. Because sometimes you get out here and stuff goes way sideways, and you don't know who people are dealing with, and they're in the circles as well. And what if you out with somebody and their life follow them to the event? And now you put in the middle of a situation you got nothing to do with, and it becomes a life or death situation. So my encouragement to you and anybody watching is, sometimes when it don't happen, and your prayers, you just thank God, I hope everything is good with them. I hope I get more time with them to reconnect, and I hope everything is good on their end. Because sometimes, it could be that maybe that person in their life showed up and brought the violence that day, and it's like,
you bringing up some amazing points. And it's weird because all of these make sense. They're probably things that I've thought about, but once you hear them out loud to your face again, it's like, here's the answer. Like, here's the truth. Like, have you thought of this?
Let me say this, nephew. I love to have a good time. I love to take care of myself. Self-care is king. But I also know every chance I step out of my house, I'm stepping into a world that is very cold. And I'm stepping out there with people who don't care nothing about my wife, my children, my family, and people who are broken, people who are hurting. And that's another opportunity to expose myself to them and their brokenness. So I definitely choose my spot. You ain't gonna even catch me everywhere, because I realize that is just so much more risk involved. Right. So it's like, keep that in mind always. And my hope and my prayer is, like a man like you, a man like me, when I step into a place, I bring the power of the Almighty with me, so that if something did jump off, I can still de-escalate and get home safely. That's my prayer every day. I just want to go home to my family, kiss my babies, hug my wife. I don't want no problems out here, but there's some people who don't live by those rules, and their life is anarchy, and they bring anarchy with them. So it's like, the less opportunities I have, the better it is for me, in some sense.
Because that was another thing I was wondering. Maybe this is supposed to be a sign that I just need to be kind of to myself right now. That's because, again, if usually something happens maybe twice, that might be maybe coincidence, right? But to me, a third time is a pattern. Whether it's multiple people, to me, like happening with the situation happening to me with different people, they're just, if I realize something 3 times, that's what I'm thinking, okay, that's a pattern. What needs to be fixed? What needs to be changed? Something needs to be analyzed, whether that's me, them, something, right?
That was powerful. Let me jump in real quick. I can't let that go. Maybe God is talking to you. And maybe it's time you listen and you bow your ear to what he's showing and telling you. And maybe he's drawing you closer with the extra time you have to maybe study, to maybe pray, to maybe seek his guidance over your life. And that's real manhood right there. Establishing a relationship with God so he can lead and guide you. And my guarantee to you is if you press into that, he'll never lead you astray. And life will get better because he's touching it. And you're allowing him that space to have influence. And that's super powerful. So keep paying attention, man.
I'm trying, man. I'm just, again, I feel like a lot of people are probably at this point in life trying to figure out these things. And if something like this is happening to them as well, they're probably confused and thinking maybe some of the same things that I am. And again, I wanted to talk about this earlier a little bit. I feel like this has been somewhat of an oxymoronic dilemma for me because I don't really have a problem being open about my feelings and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But even still, it feels kind of uncomfortable being vulnerable in this position as of right now. Because maybe it's because we're on screen now, maybe it's because it's on the platform, but I still thought that this would be something important for maybe people to hear and to show that, I go through things, but I know other people do too. So this could be something that people relate to. And I've genuinely been sitting in this for a while. Like I've genuinely been sitting in this for a while. So I figured why not speak about it?
Listen, nephew, that's the power that we bring to the table during session, right? There are times in life you got to just sit through stuff. Let it soak into your pants. Let it soak into your socks. And feel that uncomfortable wetness. But still in that moment, be able to think clearly as you've done. What is going on right now? And why is this not working out? And guess what? That's okay. I don't have all the answers to life.
Right.
But I'm okay knowing that I can bounce back, and some days will not be as victorious as others, right? And it's in those moments where you really grow, because the hardness of life can either break you or it can teach you. And if you allow it to teach you, you'll come through better, you'll come through stronger. And I love you for doing this podcast and exposing your heart to all the people who support you already. And yes, you are going to help them, because this is really raw. It's really real. And it's coming from a real place. Yeah. As a young man trying to navigate all the changes that's happening out here in the world. And it's like, it's okay to feel confused when you're young. It's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to not understand everything completely, because none of us really do. It's just a matter of, can you accept what happens, right? Can you push yourself beyond that wet spot, and get up and dry yourself off and keep moving, because the wet spots will come.
Yeah.
And sometimes we even create them.
Right. And I think I've been trying to figure out if I've been creating these. And if so, what should I be doing? Because again, the whole accountability part. Because like when you said that, I was taken aback. I said, are you calling me out? Like that was, I almost, like, of course, I'm talking about something personal. So if someone says something, I might take that personal, but I was just wondering where it was coming from. So I wanted to know if I'm missing something, let me know, because I'm not sure. Like if I sound like I'm deflecting accountability, let me know so I can deal with that and fix that, because I don't want to be someone that's not held accountable. I don't want to be someone that's not accountable. So that was like, it's hard for me, but I do want to ask you, I'm guessing you've been through something similar to this. And if you have, how did you deal with that? Like what I'm dealing with right now, how did you deal with it? How did you get through it?
So at this stage of the game, being a family man, if I ever have plans with anybody and don't work out, I don't lose sleep over it, because I know life happens. I know there's been times I've wanted to go out, and because of the day I had, the things that happened in my day, it took the energy out of me, right? And again, we talked about boundaries and bitterness. I understand my own boundaries. There's times I just don't have it in me to be out and to be around people, and I respect that. Because if you get me out there and my battery is low, you're going to get a different version of me. And you probably won't like it, because once my battery is low, I don't always communicate because I'm tired, right? And I would rather be tired at home, resting, recovering, rather than being forced out there. And I want you to hear me good, right? Life is so difficult sometimes that there's some people who don't even get sleep at night, right? And then, they wake up, oh, my man want to hang out. I don't got it in me. And I think people understand, like, you are a person who is vulnerable about his emotions, and they would rather not even tell you that because they know how it's going to break you. But as you continue to grow and you explore depth with relationships, because you're asking people to create that depth with you, they will receive it, and they'll join you. But you, like you said, you have to be patient, because like you said, the way you grew up and the way others have grown up, in some cases, is very different, and you just simply can't expect the same. And it'll get better. But also, again, when you have the extra time, how are you investing it? So you're not sitting there beating yourself up, getting mad, slide into bitterness. Like, how can you use the extra time where something may not happen as you expected to continue your growth and self-development?
My uncle, man. Wow. Yeah, it's like, this has been such a weird spot, because my feelings are kind of all over the place. And like, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes I'm just confused, times where I feel like I'm just here in a way, you know what I mean? Like, I'm present, but I'm so confused, I'm detached. Sometimes it almost has me a little detached, so I can really think about it. But I just
take that time, pursue your passion.
And I try that. I do try that. And I think my other thing is, maybe it's also really hard for me because I know my battery is a little different. Some people, they get tired easily. Like, they're like, I had work today, I don't feel like doing anything. To me, I'm like, I had work today, what are you trying to do?
Right.
Like, that's a different
thing. Right.
Like, I did this, please, let's go do this so I can decompress.
Yes.
Whereas some people, and I'm understanding of that. I can have my times at home, I can have my times out. It just depends on maybe who I'm trying to see or who wants to see me. But I've just been very confused, and I think it almost feels weird for me to say that sometimes, because I feel like we have to have it all figured out. I try to make sure I'm understanding what's going on, but sometimes I don't, as in this situation. And I just am looking for some kind of guidance, because this is just weird, man. It's just weird for me. But so what other advice would you have for me in this time, and for those that are maybe experiencing this confusion regarding their friendships, relationships? how maybe their life is evolving, what are some tips or little tidbits of information you like to provide?
Nephew, I think it would be good for you to use your benefits that your job's provided you and maybe sit down and talk to someone on a regular basis, right? Someone that you continue to process with, continue this journey with. And I understand my role as a therapist. I get the same thing often because this life is always changing. It's always throwing curveballs. And it's a situation where we want to have more answers than we do. And like you said, sometimes we just have to admit, I don't understand why this is happening. And at that time, my faith says that's the time I can step back and give it to God and let him do his work. Mm-hmm. And while he's doing his work, I'm going to be kind of doing mine on earth because there's a limit that I have every day. There's only so much I can do, only so much I can understand, but I'm going to do my best to do everything in my power, and whatever I cannot, he'll do it. And there's times where I understand that there's certain connections that are probably not healthy for me. Again, going back to boundaries, people don't understand what boundaries mean. Boundaries mean I'm going to look out for myself, number one, because I want to present to you the best version of me possible. And if I don't get what I need first, I can't give you nothing, right? And if that means I miss an event or two, when I do show up, you're going to get 100% of me. Mm-hmm. But I have to be okay myself, and people are trying to find that. And a lot of people are wondering, how do I find that? And that's where, again, therapy comes in. Like, let's sit down, get to the root. Let's figure out your family tree. Let's figure out your family history, because all of these things factor into how you show up, mm-hmm. or into how you don't show up. Because mm-hmm. maybe in families, people are used to people not showing up. So not showing up is that's the thing. That's what I've learned. It's what I've seen. So me not showing up, it's no sweat because people have taught me how to do it.
Wow. Kind of feel like you're mirroring me in a way. It's like it's like some of the stuff you're saying. It's like you just like, I thought it, but you like really throwing it back to me for me to really sit with.
Catch it though.
I'm trying. Because from our conversation so far, I'm hearing patience, understand, be more understanding, but be accountable, and also boundaries. That's probably one of the biggest ones, because you said boundaries versus bitterness, and I'm like, dang, am I bitter? I hope I'm not bitter. I really hope I'm not bitter. But if I am, let me work through that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's hard. It's hard, man.
Listen,
it's hard.
There's resources out there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my listening. If you got a job, your benefits are important. Health savings accounts. Look through your benefits. Look for EAPs. Most jobs understand if employees are healthy and well, they'll work harder, and they set up opportunities and funds for you to access so you can get support through therapy.
What's the EAP?
EAP is like it's a benefit that jobs give for you to go to therapy for like 6 to 8 free sessions with a therapist that is under their network.
Okay, yeah.
I'm HSA certified, so I can take HSA accounts and do therapy. And it's a blessing because there's lots of people who need support. And I'm thankful that there's tools out there to help people just like yourself. Like I said, I see a lot of people your age who are going through the same thing. Like, how am I figuring out my life? What am I doing? I don't know. But who has the courage to actually say that, right? Whether you have a degree or not, like, now that I'm here, how do I continue to go forward through all of this? Like, all of the things of life, all of the trauma, from my family, the trauma of my community, the trauma of my own thoughts? How do I sift through all of that and show up and put clothes on and go out and have a good time? And there's times, listen, there's times people will tell you, I don't even have the strength to get dressed. If I'm depressed, I won't eat. I won't get dressed. I won't go to work. I'll start calling off. If I have anxiety about the police, if I have anxiety about the community, if I have anxiety about just being around people in general, mass shootings, like all of these things that we take in that are happening, those things really affect people. And you gotta respect it.
Yeah, I will say one thing as well is recently I hung out with one of my friends, and I'll be honest, it would be a friend. I'm like, man, we make plans and you just flake, right? Then he told me that he was recently diagnosed with social anxiety. I was like, wow.
Boom. Boom.
I was like, wow.
And there are people who struggle to be in crowds. I can't handle the crowd. I can't handle the noise, the strangers. Like, that's real.
Yeah, when he told me that, I said, okay. That's what I, like, in my head, I said, dang, that's what I get. That's kind of what I get for maybe not even trying to think about that. But yeah, he told me he was recently diagnosed with it, but still, I was like, okay,
So
I could have.
all the folks who've never been diagnosed but still have the same or similar struggles. That's the thing, Rayo.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in the earth.
Yeah.
So they can find me and I can find them. So we can have these conversations about what is happening, how long has it been happening, how strong is it when it happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Okay. Wow. I feel a little lighter. I feel like I'm glad that I don't just seem like I'm just out of my mind for whatever I've been thinking, because I've been so confused, and I feel like I have a little bit more clarity on some of this.
Absolutely.
The boundaries part and the bitterness part take some work, and the patience, I'll do some work there. I do think it's going to require me to maybe be to myself a little bit. I mean, because I was already thinking that, but that's kind of how I also think people will kind of position themselves, because of how I was earlier talking about the self-sabotaging, maybe putting people in positions that maybe they shouldn't be in regarding me. Sometimes I feel like when you pull away, people will almost position themselves by their communication towards you, because it's like, okay, I'm not as present, so let's see who will notice that. And the people that notice that are the people that actually care about my presence. So maybe that will show me who I need to actually spend my time with. So just some thoughts of mine. But are there, this has been good. This has been a very fruitful conversation, I would say. So are there any other thoughts that you have regarding this conversation so far?
Anybody watching, anybody listening, to continue to be honest with yourself, continue to recognize that, 3 maxims I hold and I teach. People are broken. The world is cold. Life is not fair. And sometimes those 3 collide. A lot of times those 3 collide, and that's life. And if you can learn how to get through that, learn tools and skills, life would be better. And understanding people is like a real valuable tool. And
trying my hardest, man.
People have changed so much because of what has happened to them. We have to respect it. We have to honor boundaries, create boundaries, define boundaries. If not, bitterness is a real thing. Jealousy is a real thing. Anger is a real thing. And all of these things are fed by our thoughts. And if we don't learn to correct our thoughts, catch our thoughts, and sometimes throw certain thoughts away so they don't create that sabotaging space, right? That's the work that we do. I love the conversations that we've had, nephew, and like the platform to call these things out, as you said, in truth and love, to understand that It's nothing that is out of the norm with you. It's just the normal life circumstances, and you'll get through it. And again, anybody watching, search through your health benefits, jump on Psychology Today, find yourself a good therapist. It'll be one of the greatest investments you can make. So while you have the extra time, nephew, you can be on somebody's couch kind of processing, and that'll make you, I know the stigma is I'm a crazy person, but it's not it. It's I'm seeking support so that I can be better. Because once things pick up and you do be around people, you don't want to come into the room all the time with baggage. And guess what? People don't always have the capacity to deal with the extra baggage, because I got my own. And if you can't regulate, and if you can't be okay in certain situations, again, you're putting me into situations that I really don't have anything to do with. So respect that. Psychology Today is one of your best tools to find a therapist. Ask your job about EAPs, ask your job about HSA, health savings accounts. Wonderful opportunities for you to be well, to be whole, because believe it or not, God wants us all to be well. He wants us to be okay with some of the things that happen on earth that are not really easy, right? Hard things happen all the time. And again, if you don't have that foundation to fall back on to say, I can get through this, I can take this, some of those things will break you.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm got some work to do, I guess. But thank you for having this conversation with me. Because I felt like I needed it, and it's just been a confusing time, but to an extent, I guess somewhat intrigued and maybe even a little excited to figure out what's going on, because I know that there's going to be some growth on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
So I do get, a little encouraged by that. It's like, okay, there's another opportunity for something, for growth in one way or another, and for me to figure something out.
That's it. See the opportunities, man.
Yes, sir. So again, thank you, Aunt. Appreciate you. And thank you to the listener and to the watcher for listening and tuning into this episode. This episode is actually the end of season 2, and we will be back soon with some more episodes. But for now,
bring me back on.
Peace out. All right, for sure. Bring you back on for sure at some point. But again, thank you for tuning into this episode of The Highlight Reel, and thank you for tuning into this season of The Highlight Reel. We'll see y'all soon. Peace out.